So what can a CPA do that an accountant cannot, an accountant that does not have a license do? Well, you have to have a CPA license to perform any financial statement audit. You also have to have a CPA license to represent a client before the IRS. Now, the IRS does make an exception to that representation rule if the accountant does pass the IRS's enrolled agent exam. Then an accountant who does not have a CPA license still can represent a client. So what does this really look like? Well, on the audit side, it looks a little bit like this. Suppose that you're with an organization that needs to provide an audit either to a bank, or maybe you have a government contract and the government is wanting a financial statement audit. A CPA is the only type of accountant that is licensed to perform that audit. They call these types of services attestation engagements because this CPA is attesting that the financial statements are presented fairly. So there are other types of attestation engagements other than audits. Some are called reviews. That is where only a certain components of the balance sheet are actually being reviewed. There are other engagements that are called compilations. So a compilation is where the CPA takes the information that's provided by management and compiles it into financial statements that are fairly representative. On the tax side, it looks a little bit like this. Suppose you receive a letter from the IRS where they're requesting to make an adjustment on your tax return. You do not agree with the adjustments that they're making, or perhaps you don't even understand it. So you can have your CPA file a power of attorney with the IRS. It's Form 2848, and then the IRS will deal directly with the CPA. The CPA can then coordinate with you, but instead of being interrupted by notices, letters, even phone calls, they all work through the CPA, who is your power of attorney. So an accountant who does not have a license cannot perform these types of services. So without a license, you cannot represent the IRS unless you pass the enrolled agent exam, and you cannot perform financial statement audits. So that's one of the big differences between an accountant who has a CPA license and an accountant who does not.